All right. So, what's going on? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whenever this message is reaching you, wherever this message is reaching you, right? And we back with another banger, y'all. No, I'm just so, up in the house, chilling, making me a fresh batch of black eyed peas. They say, black people, we say, you make them black eyed peas on New Year, it's gonna bring good luck. Motherfuckers been making the black eyed peas for 18 years straight, for 20 years, for 30 years straight. What that look looking like? Why do we say that? I don't know. Maybe it's worth a Google. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. So, whatever. Late to the party on black eyed peas this year. Not that I do it every year anyway, but hey, I just had a taste of some black eyed peas. That's what that is. Right. But I ain't gonna hold y'all too long, man. I'm just gonna kind of get into it. Got some thoughts that I kind of want to share. So I was watching a podcast, right? I was watching a Dr. Umar podcast. Pretty good. I also was talking to a friend, and it's kind of where this idea I think kind of derived from. I was watching a Dr. Umar podcast. It's on YouTube, and he was talking about the state of relationships, right? And he said some really good things. He said some really, I think, he said a lot of good things. He said some really, really, straight things. He touched on a lot of things. And so, one of the things he talked about was, he was talking about relationships, right? And like how, well, is it a relationship or is it a pleasure contract? Relationship, pleasure contract. A relationship is going to be like this. Pleasure contract going to be like this. And I think the difference, one of the main differences in it was pleasure contract is, hey, you over there, you probably live over there, I live over here, right? We link up a couple times throughout the week, the month, whenever it is, we talk, whatever. However many times throughout the week, the month, okay. And, we link up, we might go somewhere, right? Where you want to go, hang out, do what we want to do. Go where we want to go, see what we want to see, visit stuff. You know what I mean? Pleasure contract. When it's convenient. When it's convenient, right? So, in that case, if most of the time we only really dealing with each other when it's convenient, oh, well, I got this going on, whoop. He was like, that's kind of like a pleasure contract. He had other reasons too, I guess, for it. But he was like, a relationship obviously requires more work. Because if you really get into the nitty gritty of it, you're trying to be in a relationship, one thing, you're going to be around that person. You know what I mean? Like, this person finna get ready to see this side of you. This person finna get ready to see that side of you. It's a little bit more, intense, intrusive, and just, you know what I mean? Hey, look, we in this shit, and, y'all working towards something. And not to say, I think with a pleasure contract, that's his words. I'm not taking that word and, trust me, trying to be like, oh, I'm trying to have a pleasure contract with the women I know or whatever. Da, 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 da. That's what I like. I'm not trying to have a thing and just have this word out here. You know, what we like to do, you know what I'm saying? We like to, if you give something a word, right, we like to fucking abuse it. We like to take it and abuse it, you know, over here in the black culture. Like, you know, that's what we do. Toxic. Oh, shit. When toxic came in, toxic been a word for years, right? Like, but when that shit got, I feel like when that shit, or either when you turn a certain age or just when it came to, you know, when we applied it to relationships, like toxic, when we applied that word to relationships, oh, it was over. It was on. It was like, what? Toxic. Can't do that. Why? What's wrong with this? Toxic. She toxic. Oh, he toxic as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Toxic masculinity. I'm pretty sure we got a group of niggas that try to offset that and say toxic femininity. I'm pretty sure. So, you know, here nor there, not here to have that fucking conversation. Do not care. Not gonna visit that or whatever. Trying to be in a different phase of my life, right? But like I say, that's what he was talking about, like relationship, and I try to explain that the best I could without, you know, me kind of forgetting all of the things or some, you know, most of the stuff that he was saying, right? You know, relationship, if it's a real life relationship, you know, y'all gonna have to deal with each other. It's gonna be work, like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a key word in relationship. And he was like, you know, one of the big things that he was saying, it's gonna require sacrifice. You know what I mean? It ain't just gonna be super convenient like that, you know? And that made sense. And that's a part that touched on me, if I'm being honest with myself, right? Like, you know, that's the part that, like, oh shit, you got sacrifice. So you gotta ask yourself, you know, he was like, can you live with this person or whatever? And can you, you know, put whatever it is that you know, put some of the things that you want to do, trying to do down, you know, sacrifice for this person in the greater good and just, you know, y'all having this relationship going forward, right? That's relationship type shit. Like, I'm pretty sure that, like, kind of, you know, got a couple people, sent chills through a couple people. Oh, what? I'm gonna have to compromise? I'm gonna have to sacrifice? Think about it. Because when you've been by yourself for so long, right? When you've been by yourself for so long and, you know, you've been by yourself for so long and you've been operating, you got a system over here, right? Oh, every morning at 5 o'clock, I'm doing this. Every evening, every afternoon at this time, such and such and such, I do this. And I get this ready and I prep for this and I do that and I move like this, or I go over here, or I visit this person on these days, or whatever it is, right? You know, like this, you know, you gotta start making compromises and making plans to kind of go around y'all, fit around y'all, and it ain't no more just you. You know, it's easy to manage us, just one person sometime, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you add that and then you add in the kids, like I think he said something about that too, as far as the men go, as far as the women go too, on that part. Like, you know, he was like, you know, if it's a pleasure contract, you know, when you hang out or when you come to visit or when y'all kick it, whatever, and the kid kind of come through or you see the kid, it's like, oh, okay, da-da-da-da. The kid's so cool, whatever, do. And then y'all supposed to be in some type of relationship at this point now. And it's like, shit, you don't even want to be bothered with the kid. Like, you probably was more comfortable and you probably would have preferred and liked the pleasure contract more than like the relationship, because if you in a and I understood that part of it, because it's like, you know, if you as a man, if you enter into a relationship with somebody, right? And they got kids. I always like I've learned this, and I hadn't always been like that, right? You'll meet women who got kids, and it's like, oh, okay, this person got kids or whatever. But every time you mostly seen the mama, the kids wasn't really around like that. So it's like, the kids wasn't around. So it's like the relationship kind of that y'all building and that y'all then kind of grew accustomed to during that time frame, however long that time period is, y'all hanging out and kicking it, right? It's like we done spent a year together, and how many times that you seen this person kids, been around this person kids? Not much, or not at all, really, right? And so you finally, you might have seen them through FaceTime, or you might have, whatever. So you end up, that part come up, right? And it's like, okay, now we hanging, and the kid around, or the kid in the vicinity, whatever, and it's like, I wish this kid wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, so, that's a dynamic, Bo. That's a dynamic. You know what I mean? And that's a conversation that, if you really trying to have a relationship, that's something that that's a conversation that you got to have. You got to be honest with yourself. Because that kid ain't going away 9 times out of 10. You get what I'm saying? So that's and that's why I always used to say, like I say, when I was, dating and doing this and doing that, right? You know what I mean? It would be them situations where it's like, it's kind of like, I would talk to women, and, women would be like, oh, I really, really like you, and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, baby, you judging this off of one night of fun, right? This one night of fun. We met, we linked up, we hung out. I showed you, Southern hospitality, whatever, right? Like, I showed you hospitality. I was nice. You said you could have said, that woman could have said X, Y, Z, and QRS. And I'm like, I probably didn't agree with that shit. No, I was like, man, that's some left field shit. Or that's some dark ass shit that she just said. Or she probably fucked up in the head, right? Or something like that. But did I feel the need to just jump on that whole topic and be like, look, nah, we can't do that if we finna be in a relationship. No, it's early on in our tenure, in our relation, in our situationship, in our situation, or whatever you want to call it, right? We just met. We ain't been knowing each other that long. Like, so I ain't finna jump out there at, the first time I hear you say some crazy shit, I might not never see you again. And that's just facts on the matter for the most part, right? So I ain't gonna fucking address that. So it's like, it'd be like, I'd be like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. That don't mean I agree, and by the end of the night, she had one of the best nights of her life, I guess, or, she had a great time, right? I didn't host it, I didn't entertain, things of that nature. And, shit, she fucking go off and give me a 3, 4, 5-star Google review or whatever. Most of the time in this situation, it's a 4, 5-star Google review, right? She happy. But like I say, if this a relationship, I'm gonna have to check certain shit. And a pleasure contract, I feel like, going by Dr. Umar, that's the word that he used, right? That's what he called it. That's what he labeled it. I feel like certain things can go by unchecked for years. Real shit. Like, just think about it. For years. You know what I'm saying? If I talk to you for 2-3 years and I ain't never met your kids, but we talking every day, we hanging once every week, every other week, 2 weeks, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then, like I say, but put that pressure get on, okay, do we really want to do a relationship? And kids get into play, or we got to deal with each other more extensively, on a deeper level, we gotta address certain things. Certain things coming up. Oh shit, damn. Fuck. Kid up in this motherfucker, I ain't know the kid be cussing you out, disrespecting you, and all this kind of that shit got to be nipped in the bud. Wait, you ain't finna be telling my kid what to do. You got parents like that, right? You got parents like that. You got people like that. Like shit, nah, you ain't gonna be, however they feel about it. Rather, and that's an argument in itself that I ain't gonna get into. With kid come first, whatever, da 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 da. You ain't finna be telling my kid what to do. You don't tell my kid what to do. You ain't their daddy. And might not even have no daddy. Have I ever been in a situation like that? No. Because I try my best not to land myself in a situation like that. So, but I'm pretty sure it's out there. And I'm not saying that that's the most of it. I'm not saying that that's all of it. I'm not saying that that's half of it. I don't fucking know. But I know it's a situation out there somewhere, where motherfuckers say they want a relationship, they want to be in a situation, and that might be men and women. You might got some dudes out there that got their kid. Like, look, one thing we not gonna do, even though you a woman that I'm trying to date and have in my life, right? And really, you gotta think about it. Like, if you want your daughter to look at this woman in some shape, fashion, or form, like a stand-up woman, like a lady. She should be a representative. She should be a representative. Your daughter, right? Let's say you got a daughter. She should be she should be a representation of. You get what I'm saying? She should be a representation of, that woman. What you want your baby to kind of grow up like, in a way, in a sense. In some shape, fashion, or form, right? Like, she should be some kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. You see how she dress, you see how she carry herself, how she represent herself out there in the public. She clothed with dignity, right? A woman of the cloth. She's a woman of the cloth. You feel what I'm saying? So, if this the woman that you gonna marry, right? Or if this the woman that you really pursuing some type of relationship with, that's a no-brainer. If you ask me, she obviously should have some type of traits, and should, be in some state of mind where, like, where she could be some type of decent or good, decent role model to your daughter, to your kid, if that's a brother, if that's a man. He should be some type of representation of, like, look, what little JoJo need to be mimicking. Yeah. He don't walk around sagging his pants. He don't come up in this bitch the wee hours of the night, tatted up, in trouble with the law, always got drama going on, disrespecting his mama on the phone, whatever, right? Should, be examples of, him being a stand-up guy teaching him how to be a man, so your son see that. So what I'm saying is, if that adult, if that partner, right? If they got the respect of you as an adult who's supposed to know better, don't you think they know, like, basic kid? Shouldn't they know, like, basic how to maneuver and what not to do and what to do in terms of a kid when a kid is around? Like, teach your kid right from wrong type thing, right? That should be simple, right? No, you shouldn't be doing all that, right? Because, like I say, stay out too late. Listen, you a kid, you got to come in. You're a teenager, whatever the deal is. Look, you can't be all out in the streets like that late, or you can't be going out there dressing all provocative like that, or whatever. You got older men out here that's much stronger than you, smarter than you. That try to outwit you, outsmart you, or just physically try to take advantage of you, right? You want to leave as less to the eye as possible, But if you want, look, don't go try to tell, my daughter, that sound like That sounds like it ain't much structure and order to that household in the first place. Honestly, you know what I mean. But that's for another day right now. So, you know, that's some things that, you know. With that being said, that right there, you know. With that being said, I had two things that I wanted to touch on. One being that I feel like women chose, you know, you got a group of women out here, because you see the podcast, right? You see, we all in the black culture, we see the podcast and this and that and da-da-da-da. You know, I feel like, you know, you got a group of women out here and niggas trying to convince these women these days. And I feel like, you know, we don't really talk about this too much, but, you know, you got men out here and they trying to convince the women, like, oh yeah, well, if you want to be a wife, yeah, like, it ain't no fucking lack in information, right? Or if you want to be a wife, or if you're trying to be a wife. But on the other side, I can kind of get it, because somebody got to set the tone, right? Somebody got to lay down law, order, and a level of structure, right? Right? That's how I feel. And I feel like that's probably and usually the man's job. Mostly, right? Like some, you know, if anybody grew up with a dad, or anybody grew up with a man in the house that was a man, and he was that probably was one of his responsibilities, to lay down the law, lay down the order, lay down the structure. Hey, look, this is what we gonna do in this household. I don't know what the fuck Billy Joel and them do down the street, but this what we gonna do over here. The Andersons, right? You know, the Johnsons. This how we gonna get down. This what we do under this house. Because what? This his rules. This his house. He paid the cost to be the boss. Right? You got sayings like that. So, two things. One, you know, like I say, you know, you got the ladies on the other hand, they say, hey, look, I want a man. I'm pretty sure, and that's what they say. Even when they seem to be, it seemed like it's the latter, like it's the other way. Like, I don't need no man. I'm independent. Like, word on the street is that they still be wanting a man, or they gonna want a man at some point in time, right? So, rather that's true or not. But, you know, it's a lot of info on that, and saying, hey, you know, to the women, hey, if you want to be a wife, or you want to get chose by a man out here, this what you should be doing, and da-da-da-da-da, or nobody don't want no girl, no woman who blah, 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 and woo-doo-doo-woo. And they got a whole, like, itinerary and a whole list for, like, you know, and I think, you know, you just got us as men, we gotta, you know, you just gotta identify and keep it a bean. Like, bro, is who you dealing with, or some of these women, right? Like, are we, you know, because 9 times out of 10, we might be speaking on the topic, but, you know, if she don't qualify to be a wife, or if that ain't what she interested in, every woman not interested in being a wife. Just call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's probably more prevalent nowadays, right? Because like they say, women are making more money, and, you know, this and that, right? So women making more money, they doing this, they doing that, you know, they more educated, you know, because they got their degrees. A woman gonna go to school and get that degree. You know what I'm saying? She gonna do that. And so that brings me to another point on the cool. And if I get to it, I get to it. But so it's like, some of them then chose the bad bitch route. So you gotta identify who you're dealing with if you a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody don't want to fucking be your wife. Everybody don't want to be, and maybe some of them want to be a wife, but just not a wife to your motherfucking ass. Maybe not a wife to your broke ass, your average ass. You gotta think about that. So what's the conversation at that point? It ain't much of a conversation. If she want to be a bad bitch, or some of them might just want to be a sugar baby. So I think you gotta put definitions. You gotta define what exactly. I mean, y'all, if you talking to a young lady, right? If you talking to a young lady, I think you gotta define that shit. Like, like what you want to be, like what you trying to be on, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it a wife? You want to just be out here a bad bitch? You know what I'm saying? So as the man, you might have a different outlook for you, but most definitely as a man, you don't want to approach every fucking situation on some like, I assume and I know she want to be a wife. I'm trying to take it down and be my wife. She might not want to be a wife. She might be cool with being a goddamn mean sugar baby. She might be cool with a pleasure contract. You know what I mean? And I don't want to wax and say that on this podcast before, for sure. I was like, shit, relationships should be like a fucking contract, an NBA contract. And that's probably in part of kind of what I was saying before I even heard that Dr. Umar joint. That's kind of in a way, two people get together, they link up. Okay, what can I get from you out of the deal? Dealing with you, we're going to sign a contract. How can it benefit both parties? But then you'll hear women, we ain't doing none of that. Why would we do that? Shit. I mean, if we together for 3 to 4, 5 years, we revisited 2.5 years in, 2 years in, 3 years in. Is this working for us? Are we getting what we want out of the deal? Sit down at the table, yes or no? If it's yes, we can keep on pushing. If it's no, cut the contract. Shit, we get out of the contract. We try to do what's best we try to do right by each other in terms of like nobody just fucked over at the end of the day. Don't leave that woman fucking broke down and in the dust, dick in the dust. You know what I mean? Don't leave her out there down bad with bad ass credit and fucking no money and no job and no car because you fucking drove it in the car. Look, that's probably hopefully we far removed from them type of relationships, but you know what I mean? You want to try to do right by people, so not gonna harp on that too much. But like I say, you gotta identify. Some of these people, some of these ladies, they chose the bad bitch lifestyle. That's more appealing to them. That's probably what they wanted to be. I mean, and shit, if that's the case, hey, it is what it is. You can't fucking sit up here and try to. You gonna argue with her? You gonna go back and forth with her? So we leave that at that, right? It ain't too much for me to say at that point. So you leave that shit alone. Another thing, the other part to that, because so this is the thing. Another part to that, well, it's two parts. How do you tell and characterize if a woman truly wants to be a wife, your wife, if she's interested, type thing? How do you tell and characterize if a woman? And I asked that because the other question I got is, because like I say, it's another part to it. So I feel like these days, like I'm older, right? I'm older. I'm 35. We 35 and up over here. We 30 plus. So you out here 30 plus these days, right? And I seen something the other day that kind of sparked my brain. And, I was having a conversation with one of my friend and just was talking and was like, yo, I had the idea. And I'm like, the idea that crossed my mind was, well, it ain't, like, as a man, I don't feel like a lot of women like interested in like listening and hearing what a nigga got to say. And it's a couple different reasons, right? One reason I feel like because shit, if women out here making more money than most average niggas or most men, right? If women are out here making more money, saying, whatever the number is that they're making, I feel like in today's society, it's already just off top. It's already just on some like, nigga, what the fuck? Like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, I make more money than you. Nigga, get your money up before you try to tell me what to do. Right? So that's one thing. Just because of how society is, I feel like, for whatever the reason is. And Dr. Umar touched on that too on that podcast or whatever. It's called The State of Black Relationship with Dr. Umar Johnson. Just wanted to throw that out there if anybody want to go look. I think it's a pretty good and detailed interview or whatever. It's long. I ain't watched the whole fucking thing, but I watched a good bit of it. So he touched on that too. And it's like, you're going to try to tell how you go. Because when you think about it, when the roles were reversed, right, back in the day, and the man made more money, right, than the women, and, put them in the house, put them in the home, took care of them, right, had kids and married them, whatever, right, all under the same house is like, that was how the shit was ran. You gotta think about it. That's how the shit was ran. Like, what the fuck you gonna say? Who pay the bills around this bitch? Like, as black as in this society, I feel like that's a thing. That's a thing. Like, who the fuck pay the bills in this bitch? Like, you damn near, if my mama came to visit, like, I feel like these days and on some stuff, you got people who, if your mama or your elders came to visit, it's like if they get out of control in your house, it's like, look, I run this motherfucker. If y'all don't like the way this shit going, y'all can, you know what I'm saying? You can get out. You can dip. People will tell their mama that. Women will tell their mama that. They daddy, their grandma probably. You know what I'm saying? Like, men the same way. Whatever. I feel like that's a thing, like right there. Just because it's like, it ain't about no man, no woman. It don't even matter. I feel like it's just, yo, who pay the bills in this motherfucker? Okay, so that's where that's the start. That's the point I'm getting at. If you don't pay no bills in this motherfucker, if this ain't your motherfucking spot, your space like that, you need to shut the fuck up right now. Because I'm in motherfucking charge. And that role ain't defined by just, this a man. That's a man's role. Like, the man gonna do that, because it's a man. It ain't got nothing to do with the age so much, right? It's simply based on who house you in. I run this over here because I pay the bills. And if you don't like it, you can get out. So that's one side of it, right? And the other side is, like I say, as women these days, bro, good luck trying to get a woman to like, because as a man, right, I feel like it's a thing out there that says like, yo, like as a man, nigga, I ain't moving in with no woman. Are you insane? Woman to put you out. Woman too emotional for you to live with or whatever, He end up putting you out, get upset, you fuck up, you out of there, right? That type of shit. As a man, like, that's like the whispers of like men ancestor. I'm just telling you, that's just on some man shit. Like, at this point, like, yeah, now you might have had to stay with a woman at a point in time in your life, right? And how'd that go for you? But I'm going to keep it a bean on mine. Like, trust me. Yeah, I've been there. So me experiencing living with a woman and her being able to dangle the idea of like, yo, yeah, your time's up, my boy. Nah. As a man, once that shit happened to you, if you any kind of smart, you will never put yourself in that situation again. So therefore, it only leaves one side. It only leaves one way you can do things as a man. If you're moving on from there, it only leaves one way. It ain't no compromising on no woman. Oh yeah, baby, come stay with me. If we really trying to have a relationship and a life together, right? Somebody gonna have to either we gonna have and let's keep it a bean. That ain't what we came here for. We ain't come here to have two separate places to go to when we get upset. Okay, yeah, you visit over here and chill out with me as long as everything good. And then when I get pissed off at you, shit, I got my own spot. I can just leave and go over there. When you get pissed off at me, that ain't no fucking relationship. That ain't how this shit going. But I feel like more times than not, I feel like if I had to guess or if I had to say modern day shit, what it would be like, it probably would be like that. Like, well, neither party is willing to give up or sacrifice, right? And I can tell you right now, just out of, and it's the same way for the women, right? Like all the shit that they done been through with a man, like, and they got their own spot. You think she giving up her shit to come and live with you, to come and be with you? You think she gonna put you think that trust is up to part for her to like? So you get what I'm saying? So look, listen. So if you know, and one of the reasons, and like I say, going back to the initial thought of this, right, is because I seen something online or I was watching something, and it was like, okay, well, you know, back then it was different because most of the women were living with the men. So the men had more say so. The men, so when we talk about a submissive woman and a woman doing this and a woman doing that for a man, it's almost like, well, if the woman wasn't making her own money, the woman wasn't making her own money at that time. She probably wasn't as college educated, right? A lot of the women, you know what I'm saying, probably wasn't college educated on the level that some of the women are college educated these days, right? You know, you know, some of our moms and our grandmas and aunties, you know, they wouldn't like, they might have not got that college education and got that degree to where, you know what I'm saying, you know, they living on their own. They were just, you know, they depended upon a man. Right? And that man was who? Our father, our grandfather, the uncle, right? So it's like, you know, hey, look, you under this roof, these the rules, you know? So now it's not that old traditional way anymore. You know, you got a whole lot of women who got their own spot, you know, and that's a discussion to have. I feel like that's a very important discussion to have at a point in time. You know, if two people are really serious about trying to be together and she got hers and he got his, right? What happens? Because both of us 9 times out of 10 got some type of trauma, trust issues, so forth and so on. And, you know, that's just what I was saying. I was like, yo, like, it's, you know, I was telling my friend, I was like, yo, like, I don't know. I don't think really women want to listen like these days. I don't really feel like women listen like talking about. But, you know, not that they just don't listen. It's just like, why? And I think that what I'm saying is I think that this is probably one of the reasons, right? One of the reasons, which is, okay, for one, they done been through all kind of stuff, hurt, trauma, past relationships ain't work out for him, right? So it's like, I'm iffy on trusting a nigga, right? But then the other part of it is, hey, that dynamic as I just spoke on, like, yo, like, bro, I got my own shit. I ain't gotta listen to anything or do anything that this nigga talking about. Like, fuck is you talking about? I ain't gotta do none of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can just go home. If a nigga got rules and he coming at a woman on some like, yo, I need you to be on this, I need you to be on this type of time, and he can be trying to be with him. But like if she don't agree to them laws and them laws and them orders, that structure that he trying to, that umbrella that he trying to move and live up under, what? She can say, screw you guys, I'm getting him. Like, that what Cartman used to say on South Park. Screw you guys, I'm getting him. You know what I mean? So she can just say that. So it's just like real quick, like, man, you know what? Fuck this shit. I ain't gotta deal with this shit. And then I feel like we already in the modern day society where I feel like everybody just like, ain't too much backbone, ain't too much. Nobody wants to go back and forth on no fighting shit. Fighting for anything, like, man, fuck this shit. Fight for a relationship? But this shit gay. This shit weak. I'm not finna be arguing with you. You run across people like that. Look, I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm just gonna go home. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna find something else because there's plenty of fish out here in the sea. There's plenty of motherfuckers that lining up in my DMs, ready to, however motherfucker think about it, right? So I think that's a part of it. So, that's kind of like that's kind of like the question that I asked, that I posed, like, yo, like, you in that situation, you got two people, both of y'all scarred. The man don't trust the woman. The woman don't trust the man. What has to happen if y'all really want to be in a relationship? So by that definition, because I'm standing on business with mine. You get what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure that woman is standing on business with hers. Like, just keeping it a bean. Like, it's gonna have to be some hellified convincing, right, on somebody's part, if somebody gonna convince me, well, shit, it's more of a benefit if you just, come over here and da-da-da-da-da, and we have a relationship this way, and da-da-da-da, you under this roof, and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Well, no, how about I just keep what I got going on over here? So, and like I say, at the end of the day, if two people, right, if you're gonna try to be in a relationship where two people got their own shit going on, right, it's kind of counterproductive. Right? It's kind of counterproductive. It's like, damn, so you want me to, it ain't the days of like, okay, get a woman, find a woman at the house, right? Back in the day, she young, y'all young. She ain't got no spot. She was still living at her parents' house, right? This day, no, this just what it is these days, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, so to that, I can understand why men would probably want to date young as fuck, but I mean, who do you really? Like, that shit, like, fuck, you gonna deal with a fucking Ice Spice and Sexy Red these days? That is crazy to me. Like, So, nah, wow. But anyway, I digress. But, like I say, it was kind of easier back then, I guess, in a perfect world, right? Okay. But who's in that situation where they're young whippersnapper, or they 30-some years old and a woman ain't really got too much? I mean, people are struggling. I mean, you might find a woman who been through some things and she might be on that chapter in her book or in that season, right? Where she ain't got that much, but she is trying to be a wife to somebody. And, look, she did this, she did that, and right now she just decided to have a reset, come back home, live with family or something like that for a time being, and get her shit back right? And you meet her and you got your shit together. You're like, hey, baby, you come stay over here, and maybe that'll work. But, now are you out here looking for them type of women? No. No, most niggas will say that. Most niggas will sit up there and, we'll say that as a man. Like, yo, if she ain't got her own house and da-da-da-da, I don't want to deal with it. And that's probably the niggas who don't want to take care of nothing, who don't look at it like, who don't look at having a wife and a family like, it's their responsibility. That if you meet a man like that, he probably ain't interested in like taking care of you. He probably ain't tapped into that side of his manhood where it's like, nah, like I'm gonna take care of, you know what I'm saying? So he like, nah, I want her to have her own shit, her own everything because, she, I don't know. That's just probably how you feel about it, but like I say, if you a man and you actively trying to seek real life relationship and shit like that, you meet a woman, she got her own shit going. Like I say, that's a conversation. It's a conversation. And the other part to that, right, is that it's counterproductive. So it's counterproductive. Like, you in a situation where, you're going to take care of your household and everything that's going on in your household, and a whole nother household, like, that's counterproductive. Like, who wants to do that? Nobody wants to fucking do that. Like, take care of, if a man got 2 homes, households, that's because that's what he wanted to do, But like, if you ask, I'm pretty sure if you asked anybody if they wanted to sit up there and take care of two separate households, right? Unless it's just like, yeah, I'm taking care of, and maybe that was a thing back in the day, for some men, some women, some situations, right? Where it's, I'm taking care of my home, my wife, and and I take care of that home over there with my baby mama because I got a side kid, or I had a side kid before the marriage, or I had a baby on my wife. All that shit sound bad, but maybe a man manned up and did that. Maybe he did that. Maybe he had enough funds to do that. Maybe that was how he was taught. Maybe that was how he was raised. Like, yeah, like shit. So I'm gonna take care of this side and I'm gonna take care of that side. Don't worry about it. Y'all just, and like I say, them old school men were different. They hit different. Like, they ain't give a fuck. Like, so, they ain't care. They ain't care much. So not, and I can't say not that they didn't care. I think it was just, and they probably didn't, but to a degree, I'm sure. But like I said, at the same time, it's like, it's 2 parts. It's like, look, if I'm doing this and paying all of this, and you ain't got to worry about these bills like talking about, you won't have really bills to worry about. Bills don't ever stop, right? So it's like, if I'm taking care of these bills and this house and getting this fixed and, fixing this up in the house and the car and the vehicle and all this and that, shit, you can depend on that, and you've been depending on that man for X and X amount of years, right? And he handled business. You telling me you got room to complain? Like, that's, and like I say, I ain't here to do the nitty gritty of like the part where it's all in between, the devil's in the details, when it's like, oh, okay, as a woman, women can't say nothing if a man, or if somebody is footing the bill, right? You ain't got no say so. That person who ain't footing the bill or paying the bills got no say so. I ain't doing that part. That ain't what we here for. But, you know what I mean? I think we all know that is the kind of mentality, and that is kind of what used to kind of go on, to a degree, to some degree. So, like I say, it's kind of reductive. And you got them situations out here that's kind of what a lot of that stuff kind of get thrown out. Like, yo, like, hey, I want somebody to come and pay my bills, pay these bills. You gonna pay these bills? Like, what sense does that make for a man to have 2 mortgages, 2 rents, for me to pay all my bills and for me to pay all your bills, pay this bill, for you to pay your car note, whatever it is that you got going on, right? Everything in the house over there, right? That don't make sense. Nobody, like, what man would say yes to that deal? A rich man, right? Like, a man that got it, right? But like I say, if rich men were that fucking available, and men that were wanting to do that, everybody's bills would be paid, and this wouldn't be a conversation about this at that point, right? Like, how hard is it to find somebody to want to, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, and that's a trade-off in the simplest form. Like, if a man gonna do that, pay all your bills, he most definitely probably got some type of, well, if I'm gonna be doing all this, and I ain't got no problem with doing all this and taking care of home and whoop, whoop, shit, but I have something on that stove top. You know what I'm saying? And then it turned into that. You know what I'm saying? Well, you better, shit, when I come home, that bath water better be rain. When I such and such and such, that thing better be popped. That thing better be ready and popped, washed and greased, whatever. however that go, right? You know what I'm saying? You better have that thing ready for me. That type of thing. So, yeah, man, it's a conversation, and it's kind of counterproductive. So it's like, is that what we asking men? You know what I mean? Like, and it ain't much of an incentive, right? Like, if a woman been paying her bills and the dude say, all right, cool, I'm gonna pay my bills and I'm gonna pay yours, baby, don't worry about it. And he get to asking her over here, like, look, I pulled up at the house, shit. I got dishes all up in the sink, and you over there at your house or whatever, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? I thought, these dishes supposed to be washed, Look, man, I'm tired of this shit, You go back, I don't know, man. It's crazy dynamics to try to navigate, you know what I mean? And, like I say, if you're gonna pay for two households as a man, I feel like, you're gonna have men that say, well, I'm gonna pay for two households. Shit, I might as well have a side family. So there you go. You ain't got no say so on rather you got your own spot or not. That's fine, cool. If I stop dealing with you and paying your bills, guess what? I save myself some money. So if you're gonna be mad, you'll have the nerve. So if you as a woman, you got men that probably think like this. So if you a woman, and you trying to tell me I can only move with one woman, I'm only supposed to be moving with you, but I'm paying all your bills over there, and you living over there in a whole different household, trying to dictate, where I go, where I lay my head at. Shit, I can lay my head at my house, your house, and any other house that I feel like, and any other motherfucking place that they gonna let me, pop a rolling stone type thing. So, I know you got men like that'll come with that thing like, shit, nigga, I'm the man, I'm paying all this shit. Ain't no motherfucker gonna tell me nothing about that then. And going back to my point earlier in the episode, it's easy to be like that, right? Because that's kind of like, that's kind of society today's society. Like, you make the money, you pay the bills, shit, you pay the cost to be the boss. So you make the rules, you lay the law down, you got that order, right? It's your say so type thing. So, I guess it's about picking the right boss at that point. If you're a female, if you're a lady, I guess it's about picking the right boss. Just make sure your boss ain't out to screw you over like some of these jobs, right? Because it is a job, I think. But I digress. And I'll leave it at that, man. So, y'all chime in, man. Y'all let me know. How does a situation like that work? And I would love to get some guests on the podcast going forward too, man. Got to start getting some guests up on here or something like that. That would be nice. Chime in and share their perspective and whatnot, and open the floor up to some different opinions and all that there. So, in my opinion, what do y'all think? Do most women really want to be wives these days? Do they really want to be wives? Is that like sexy? Is that attractive to them? Is that like, or is it just something that people say these days, that women say these days? Uh, you know, and like I say, the other point, how does that work? So I'll leave it at that, and I'll get up with y'all next time. Peace out.